Alright, we're going to be ranking all the different wheel brands out there. It's going to be a long video. There's a lot of wheel brands out there, so I'm probably going to do a 1 and a 2 part for this video. Now, while I will be comparing all these brands, there's a lot of brands here that make their wheels at the same 2 factories. The 2 factories that make all these wheels are Labita and And. It's A-E-N-D, pronounced and. Because of that, you'll see a lot of similar cores and a lot of similar shapes of wheels, and honestly, a lot of these wheels are probably more similar than we think. I'm going to be ranking these wheels on their price points, durability levels, as well as their performance. Because while some brands are pushing the envelope on, what a wheel can do, how long it can last, how it's going to perform, grip, speed, all these different things, there are other brands out there that are just trying to fill a cheap price point on wheels, considering that wheels have gotten a lot more expensive. Probably going to see a lot more homegrown, 20-something-year-olds making a wheel company that they produce 1 or 2 wheels. Also, I'm not going to be ranking shop wheels. So there's a couple shops that make their own wheels as well. I'm not including those in here. I just didn't feel like we needed to discuss those as much. So we'll get into those as well, but let's go ahead and rank them. Amyo is, I believe, the only Mexican wheel brand on this list. I'm pretty sure they're from Mexico. They kind of came out in like the 2015, 2014 era. And they have a decent variety of wheels. They've got a moderate-sized freeride wheel, 70 mil-ish. They've got smaller ones in the 60s. And then they also have some smaller square lip shapes. They don't really have a big competitive race wheel, but they do have a lot of different wheels. Now, I think the performance on these is pretty average. They're fine, but they won't blow anybody's minds. The price point is also, though, in their favor, is that it's pretty average prices, too. You're looking at, $50 around for their freeride shapes. You're looking at, $55, $56, $57 for, their smaller square lip shapes, which honestly I think is slightly on the cheaper side for that type of wheel. But altogether, kind of average price, average wheel. We're going to go in the BT for Amyo. Alright, this next brand is Banana Wheel Co. And Banana Wheel Co. are like the freshest boys on the block. I think they just have one wheel. They have the Banana Peel, yeah. So the Banana Peel is a standard size. I think it's 72 millimeter, 78A wheel. That's all they have right now. Branding looks pretty cool on them. I like the yellow color. They're $50, kind of maybe average to slightly above average price for a freeride wheel. It's pretty average, I would say. But that's it. That's all they have. Now, I've got high hopes for these guys. I'm pretty sure they're based out of the Appalachian areas, which is going to do great for their brand if they're going to film a lot there, because all wheels look great in the Appalachians when you slide that far. With that being said, they don't really have too much to give right now, but at the same time, I want to give them some time. So I'm going to give them in the C tier right now. Not a bad thing. I think the banana wheels, like the peels, are probably fine, but I don't think they're really blowing anybody's minds right now, but, they're still just getting started. Now, on the complete opposite spectrum, a brand that's been around for a really long time, Powell Peralta. Now, the brand Powell has been around for a really long time. The wheels, moderate time, I think 2015, 16, something like that. But when they did come out, they kind of blew everybody's mind. They released the Snake. They released the Snake in a 66 and a 69 mil. And they did what no other freeride wheel was doing, which it lasts for a very long time. Not to even mention their dragon skin formula. So when the Snakes came out, they actually kind of made the other brands have to catch up. And we've just recently seen a couple other brands make a very long-lasting wheel. But because Powell was able to make this, it's kind of just made all wheels slightly better, or at least have people catch up. And part of this is due to the fact that Powell's the only brand, I'm pretty sure, that actually pours their own wheels. They're not, getting manufacturing from somewhere else. They're pouring their own. They're a decent price for, I think, how long they last. $60, $65 for Snakes. So, a little bit on the more expensive side, but I just think they last a very long time. And we haven't even brought up the K-Rhymes wheels. That shape is very, very loved. A ton of people find that one of their formulas is their favorite wheel, whether it's the purples, whether it's the greens. Reds get some love sometimes. And I think pretty soon this yellow one is going to be a pretty big favorite as well. Now, the only reason I'm not going to put Powell in the S tier is just because they don't really have a competitive race wheel. When the first K-Rhymes model came out, the 75s, they said they were going to be competitive, more grippy, faster than everything. And they just aren't. They're not as competitive as what people are podiuming on at these big races. Because of that, great wheel company, Powell Peralta is going to go A tier. All right, another one of the big boys on the scene is Seismic. Seismic's been around for a very long time. Seismic skate, and they make a lot of things besides wheels. We're just focused on the wheels here. And wheels, they make a lot. They have 27 different wheels, and that's just the shapes. Then you've got the urethane formulas, which they have 5 different urethane formulas, which is a ton. Now, not all these are really downhill wheels. They have some street wheels in here, and they have some slalom wheels, things like that, but they have freeride shapes. They have downhill shapes as well for racing, and they have some of the best ones as well. But because the performance, well, I don't know if it's because the performance is so high, but with the performance being as high as it is, they're also extremely expensive. If you look at their, probably most competitive race wheel, the 80.5mm Alpha, they're $102 for a single set of wheels, which is just a huge investment. They do last a pretty good long time. They slide very smooth, they grip very well, and you're not really seeing as much innovation from a lot of brands as you are from Seismic. They're making their own cores, their own urethane formulas. It's pretty impressive, but I can't really ignore that $102 price point. And that's not just the race wheels. If you look at their slide wheels too, the 70mm, it's pretty average size formula for a slide wheel, almost $80 for a slide wheel. I mean, that's hard to look at. That's hard to see, especially if you're going with like this blue formula that's just going to melt away. Because of that, I can't not put them in S tier. They make some of the best stuff around, and they're innovating like crazy. But let's say we're gonna throw them in the S tier, but it's like bottom of S tier right now, okay? Just because of that crazy price point. Now going to another area of Colorado, we're gonna go to Venom. Venom has been making wheels for a pretty long time as well, since about, I want to say 2008, 9, something like that, when they released the Tweakers and the Cannibals. These are both great wheels for the time, and we've only gotten better as we've gone on. I mean, you can't deny the amount of podium wins that you see with these Magnums. I would be willing to bet they're probably the winningest wheel in the last 4 or 5 years, how long the Magnums have come out. I see them so much at races. They did not, I will say, for a little while now, they haven't had a very competitive freeride wheel. Since the Snake came out, people really weren't like trying to buy tweakers or their other shapes that were just kind of melting away. But luckily, and they're not on their website, but the sideshows, Dylan Hepworth 70mm, and I think it's 70mm, and the just white sideshows, the 65mm, kind of fills that gap of durable freeride wheels. I haven't skated any, but I hear they're pretty good. With that being said, they've got everything. They're very good, all of their wheels. They even have like if you really like that melting away wheel, they got the harden the paint formula in 2 different shapes. I can't not put them in the top of S tier. They're expensive for sure, Magnums, but they're not $102. They're what, like 90 something? All right, I went to a different website because it was taking too long. 95, so, still very expensive, but, not the most expensive. With that being said, and them winning a lot of races with those wheels, I'm going to put a Venom in the S tier, the top of the S tier. All right, guys, the next wheel brand company that we have is Colt Wheels. Let's go ahead and look them up. Now, I'm not going to lie, I almost forgot to put Colt on this list, and it's kind of funny because I put them in the same category as like Lush, which is where I'm at right now, which they make boards, and it's another forgotten company. I feel like these 2 English brands a lot of times get forgotten, and they're like, what about us, guys? What about us? And they're so forgotten that when I made my board tier list video, I forgot to put Lush on there, and then I didn't even see any comments anywhere mentioning Lush either, so nobody else remembered them either. But with that being said, Colt's been around for a little while, and they were a bigger deal in the early 2010s with some of their freeride wheels, Colt Creators, Colt Classics. Yeah, Classics. Those are the side set ones, which doesn't look like they make anymore. They still make a decent amount of wheels. I don't really see people skating them too much. Maybe that's because I'm in the States, but maybe they're skated more in Europe. Not a super competitive wheel. Their race wheel at only $80, decent price, but it's a smaller race wheel, 74mm, and I've never seen somebody win a race on these. Their freeride wheels are probably fine, they're probably good, but I don't really know for sure. I would put Colt in C because I just don't really know their formulas very well, but because I also truly don't really know their stuff super well, I'm going to throw them a little bit of a bone here. I'm going to give them that B tier. I'm going to throw them below Amyo, but it's kind of on me just because I don't really know their stuff super well. Next up, we have a very popular brand. We have Hogs. This is Land Yacht's division of wheels. Now, when we look at Hogs lineup, they kind of have a little bit of a gap here. I'm looking at some of the different wheels. We've got a 60 mil Chevy Hog, a 60 mil Little Hogs, 63, a 63, a 63. There's a lot of wheels here that are just very small, and it seems like a lot of their wheels are catered towards cruisers, towards their dinghies, which probably make a lot of money, and it's probably why they have so many different wheels for that size of board. But it's leaving a pretty big gap. We don't even have a round-lipped 70 plus mil free ride wheel, which is kind of like a, to me, kind of a big standard in longboarding. While they do have this gap, they also have some pretty well performing wheels. Easy Hogs are great. They're one of the best tiny free ride wheel. You're going to do huge slides on them and they still feel pretty controllable for how little they are. Supreme Hogs are great too if you like a free ride wheel that is square lipped, a little bit wider. And then not to mention we've got the Cheetah Hogs, which is kind of interesting. I don't even see them on here. I'm not sure if they're making them anymore, but they were really expensive when they came out. But I kind of want to see how much they actually are compared. If I look here, it says they're only $95, which is actually, is that cheaper than the Magnums? It's like right at the same price point. I don't remember what they were. And then it's cheaper than the seismics. They seem to perform pretty well, but maybe not as well as a Magnum. So with that being said, because they have kind of that gap there, I'm just going to put Hogs in the B tier there. They have pretty decent wheels, but I can't forgive. They're missing that 70 mil round lip. Where's that at? Next brand we have up is ABEC 11. ABEC 11, legendary brand, huge deal. Now, I forgot about this. If you look up ABEC 11, you literally can't even find a website for them now. They came out kind of reissuing out some older wheels. I want to say, October 2022, maybe September, something like that. It was very recent. And, people kind of lost their minds because they have that nostalgia for ABEC 11 early 2010s when they were just the top of the game. The Centrax, the Big Zigs, the Free Rides, the Amber Urethane, all of these awesome wheels at the time. But I'll be honest, does ABEC really stand up to today's free ride wheels? I mean, Venom had to catch up with Snakes, and I know that while the formula does slide very well, I don't think it slides so much better or the same as like a Snake, where I would buy their wheels over a Snake or something like that. Their race wheels, the HD Big Zig, I'm sure it's probably a good wheel, but it's not as good as a lot of other wheels that I could be buying. Because of that, and I don't even see that they have a website. It seems like the brand is kind of maybe just getting started back up, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like super organized. I'm gonna have to throw ABEC in the C tier for right now, just because they're not really up to performing. They're basically going off of nostalgia right now. And maybe they'll come up with some new stuff soon, but if they're just gonna go with their old stuff, I think they're gonna fall off the boat again. Alright, everybody's favorite first wheel, Orangutan. A lot of people, they get a cheap complete and then they want to upgrade their components and they find Orangutan. They have, pretty much like some of the best marketing out there. Their websites are amazing. They make good videos. It's all pretty great. However, if we actually look at their wheels, they haven't really released any wheels in the last 5-6 years that really compete or even have released anything for free riding or downhill. We've got the Kegel, which is a good wheel. It's really good. It's 80 mil. But you're not going to race that. It's kind of a free ride wheel, honestly. Not to mention that in the free ride category, we don't really have too many comparable ones either. These are fine wheels, but I'm not going to choose these over something else. Not to mention that they're expensive. 75 mil Durian, $64. Stimulus 70 mil, $59. I'm not going to buy that. That's expensive for its competitors. Orangutan, they do have good models. Some of their stuff is of good quality. However, they really haven't put much thought into continuing with their downhill lineup. Orangutan is going to go in C. I want to say even the bottom of C tiers for right now. I don't know. Banana and ABEC can kind of be neck and neck there, but yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, Hogs goes top of B tier. Sorry, forgot about ranking them in the rank.